Hello community, today we are in business mode and we're going to look at the legal AI system that we can build with a RAG system. Now you remember in my last video I was talking to you about how we can use this new Grok transformer architecture and how it compares here to the classical RAG system with a vector store. And I've given you here an example how to build a Grok transformer. Let's say you are an insurance company and you want an AI system specific focused on the risk assessment task and how you can train your LLM without any other vector store in the loop. And then I got a comment, and I'm thankful for your comment, because it was about here a very narrow branch, a narrow business sector. It was about here the legal system, a law. And I was told here that there are multiple commercial legal AI systems for legal research and legal utilization that have no hallucination. And they all utilize RAG perfectly. So the question was more or less, hey, there are a system, commercial system, really expensive commercial system, that do not have hallucinations. And I said, this is interesting. So I'm not interested in the companies. I'm not interested in the product. I'm interested in the technology and what we can learn from this technology. This is what it is all about. So I looked here and I remembered I've seen here a mail from Stanford University. Hallucinating law, legal mistakes with large language models are pervasive. Pervasive errors among the three popular models on a wide range of legal tasks, but you might say, hey, this was January 2024. And I remember just some days ago I've seen a mail by Stanford University on AI on trial, legal models hallucinate in 1 out of 6 and more benchmark queries. And this is here the first public evaluation of AI tools in law. And of course, there's only one institution that can do this, Stanford University. I'm referring here to the study by Stanford and Yale University that is available on the Stanford server directly. You have here on the right-hand side the link that I used. Now, if this is not available to you, I have given you here the link, the HTTP archive link that you can find this also, but I'm not really sure if those are identical, so I go with the version from Stanford directly. So let's look at this. And I will be very careful, and as you can see, I will give you only screenshots of the study by Stanford University. Because talking about law and talking about AI system that costs millions and tens of millions of dollars is not an easy task. So I will try to be very precise and refer to you here the specific section in the study by Stanford University only. So let's start. Stanford looked at 3 commercially available legal AI systems. And you see here, number 1, number 2, and number 3. And Stanford states now what those companies claim. For example, here, delivers 100% hallucination-free linked legal citation. And the next statement is here, does not make up fact or hallucinates. Or, we avoid hallucination by relying on the trusted content within something else. So you see, 3 commercial products, really expensive. I cannot afford to test out one of them. Therefore, I have to rely on Stanford University findings. But I think those findings are very interesting. And Stanford here has an own chapter, chapter 3, on the promise of RAG on a technology level. And as you can see here, we have here neural text embeddings, and you remember what I told you about vector store embeddings, and you understand the context to my last video. So let's look what Stanford found out about this. And Stanford came here, and to be very specific here, for this AI-driven legal research tool. And for example, here the third one, they said, hey, they built this tool after they acquired for $650 million some other company. And there is a lot of money invested in this business, because if you are the one company to provide here a legal AI system to all the lawyers, let's say only in the US or maybe later on in other continents of this beautiful world, you're in for business. So you see, all those three, they say, yeah, this is perfect, and we implement a proprietary RAG system. And here, performing RAG on these materials, and this RAG is prominent touted here. So you see, they go here with RAG system. Now let me assume personally here that those companies are absolute professionals in their business. They invest the money for the best RAG system you can buy on this planet. They will have the best people to implement the RAG system. They have bought all the other companies who hold the data that they need for the legal AI system to build and to train their RAG system on. As you can see here, they acquired for 650 million something. So I think those are absolute professional companies. They go for the best of the best. And this is the best RAG system you can buy for money on this planet. And this was not today, 8 days ago. Okay. And then Stanford goes on and talks about here the limitation of RAG that they found in their study. And this is just the beginning, but you have seen my last video, so you are not surprised. But let's talk about the results, and I think this is really interesting. And here we have here from Stanford here, chapter 6.1, commercially available RAG-based legal research tool still hallucinate. Over 1 in 6 of our queries caused to respond with misleading or false information. Another product here hallucinated substantially more. 1/3 of its responses contained a hallucination. If we talk about such a sensitive commercial topic like law, national law, civil law, international law, wherever you are, I, as a non-lawyer, have a feeling that this should just be perfect. Because whenever you pay a lawyer, at first it is extremely expensive, and second, this is really where it is important for your business, for your person, or for your family. So you would expect no hallucination at all by those AI systems that the lawyer might use to do his or her work. Now, Stanford goes on and says, hey, we found that the AI answer for different products are a little bit different, but let's focus here on what they found. The AI answers are accurate, this means correct and grounded for 65% of the queries. And I thought, okay, 65% accurate, okay. And then they went on, and then for the second and third product, we find accuracy rates of 41% and of 19%. Now, at that point I ask myself, so if I have here a very expensive legal AI system, and let's imagine this bar here is about 100% accuracy rate. And this system from some company, names are not important, reached 41% according to Stanford. Accuracy rate. What is the rest? And I asked myself, okay, and then the other company reaches 19% accuracy rate. What is the rest? So you see, I found it interesting that Stanford says here, commercially available RAG-based legal research tool still hallucinate. And although I have no access to evaluate those systems personally, I still believe those are the best RAG implementation and the best RAG system you can buy for money on this planet. So you might ask, so what is it that RAG is not functioning, not even in this sensitive topic of legal research law? So if you look at this performance benchmark of the accuracy rate, I think, and you realize that this is the best, what we can achieve in June 2024 for a legal AI system. I would be interested what you think. Please leave me your thought in the comments. But this means if this is the best available AI system, programmed by the best available expert, people, coder, developer, what does it mean for the normal rack system that is developed by a person who maybe just have 5 years of experience in software development or coding? Those I would regard as the optimum benchmark data. Now, to be clear, these tests were done by Stanford, and the legal benchmark was in no way a simple test like we see here for all the other open source LLMs, where you have Mary has one apple. Then Mary goes and buys another apple at the store. Now, how many apples does Mary have? No, those are legal questions. So the level of the benchmark test is a complete different dimension. But this is the real world benchmark data for the legal AI industry. And here you have again those data, 65%. And I ask you, what is the rest? Now, Stanford looked at this in a very favorable way. So you have here in green or turquoise here this accurate answer. And then in red, you have here the amount of absolute hallucination. And then in the middle, you have what Stanford calls incomplete legal answers. So you see those ratio very significantly. And here at the end, you have a normal free GPT-4 system, not specifically trained in any way on legal data. This is the vanilla GPT-4 system that you and I can use here for free on the internet. And you say, okay, so GPT-4 is accurate in 49%. What about those systems? Why is the jump from 49% to the best performer only this little jump here? So interestingly, those are commercial AI systems based on RAG system, and I suppose the best RAG system there are and the best data there are. So what happens here on a technological level? And then I looked here at the right side, and I think this is even more interesting because I don't understand this visualization on the right-hand side. It says proportion hallucinated, so from 0% to 100%, when responsive. And I said, okay, so GPT-4, we have here, let's say, about 50%. And then those two products are a little bit less hallucination, let's say 2% less and maybe 3% less. But why is this here so close to a vanilla GPT system? Then I read the text. The percentage of answers that are hallucinated when a direct response is given. And I say, okay, great. So sometimes those systems don't give a direct response on a legal AI. And I continue to read, okay, those products respond to fewer queries than GPT-4, but the responses they do produce are not significantly more trustworthy. And this is what I can see. I mean, if this is a vanilla GPT-4, and when they are responding, they are not significantly more trustworthy, yes, I can see this for these two products. So whenever people tell me, hey, my RAG system is perfect, or I work in this industry and there we have the perfect RAG system. Now here we have an independent study by Stanford University on a very particular topic, on a very sensitive commercial activity, law. And you see the performance as evaluated by Stanford University here, when the system is responsive, which I hope it is in quite a lot of cases. You see, this is the performance, and GPT-4 has no RAG system, but those three have a RAG system attached for some external, this open book structure. So you see, the performance of RAG, to say that it is perfect might be an interesting statement. Stanford went further, of course, and they looked at the different hallucinations that take place. And here I just given you from this study here. So this is what I hallucinated in red, and then they explained why this is wrong. And they started to develop a topology of legal RAG errors. Imagine there were so many RAG errors on the legal AI system that they could develop here a topology of just the errors that RAG was doing. But what's really interesting in this point, and we want to learn about why I told you in my last video, we do not need those vector stores. We can have with those grok transformer a real good reasoning LLM. And I'm come back here to the reasoning because Stanford tells us here the reasoning errors. They say in addition to a more complex behavior described above, the LLM-based system also tend to make elementary errors of reasoning and facts. If you have a legal AI system that makes elementary errors in the reasoning of your case and errors in the facts of your case, of your legal case, I would assume this is something you do not want. So now you understand why I had this mini series on grok transformer that excel at reasoning, at causal reasoning, at logic deductions. Because it is not only physics, it's not only mathematics or chemistry or whatever, astrophysics. You see also here in law for legal AI system, if those systems make elementary errors in reasoning and in facts, we have to get rid of those from the technology. And therefore, now interestingly, starting from a comment that you gave me here from the community, you see that here those videos, that my last two videos, were focused here on the reasoning and why I personally try to move over to the grok LLM with a near-perfect reasoning capabilities. If you carefully design those grok LLM, that their performance here is so much better than of RAG system. So we have now a different generation of technology with those grok transformers compared to those old established vector store based embedding structure, and not so much the classical RAG system. But I think if we want to improve our AI agent or multi-agent system significantly, especially about reasoning, and especially that it's true about the facts that we are talking of, we have to move to the next step of the evolution in the AI technology. So therefore I say thank you to Stanford University. Thank you to the community who gave me this beautiful comment that I can reflect on, that I can inform myself on, that I can make this video to share with you. So if somebody tells you, hey, my RAG system in legal or in law regulation, in policy is perfect, my RAG system works perfectly, now you know the truth behind this. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was a little bit informative today, and it would be great to see you in my next video.